right, guys, welcome back to another podcast, New Legacy. We got Wade Houston today in Miami land. We're out here doing a project, and no better person right now to interview than Wade Houston.
An amazing project. It's been quite the day. One day compressed into what feels like 3 weeks.
So yeah, we're here to shoot the Halo reels, story, sales pitch, and the lifestyle. And the lifestyle is pretty much all day. And yeah, you get to live your long, fulfilling dreams to be a Fast and Furious character.
That's right. More so than living my dreams, you guys have pulled out of me years of things that I hadn't thought about and dreams that I never thought would come to fruition. It's a testament to you guys that you're really not videographers at all. You guys are a full-fledged production agency that really turns a dream into a reality. Like DreamWorks should be named after y'all, not Pixar.
Yeah, so I tell everybody, like, when you watch a long movie, usually like 2 hours, and it's only like 5 minutes of action, we shoot that 5 minutes of action.
It's awesome.
But it's a lot of work. But at the end of the day, it's like when you watch it, it's like, holy crap, you like transcend it to a different universe when you take a watch, because the audio, like the guys I have working on these projects, 10 years of experience, and they shoot for like McLaren and Lamborghini, so they know, like, the
more so than just having the experience and shooting for some of these auto manufacturers and major brands. You guys really understand people and how to create a vibe and curate a vibe and relationship, right? Like, we've spent basically a couple Zooms and one full day, and I already feel like I know you guys for a lifetime, and I feel comfortable around you. And I don't feel comfortable recording a lot with many people the way that I do with you guys, and you just bring it out of people in an amazing way. So testament to you guys.
Thank you, brother.
Hell yeah.
And on this podcast, I want you to share your story, all the tribulation, all the trials and lessons you learn along the way. And we're going to use this podcast to inspire and uplift other people. So I'm going to be running across America, and I'm doing this podcast like as I'm running across America too.
I love that.
What
prompted you to do that, by the way?
Okay, so I looked at the stats. I was like, all right, what is one thing I can do before I'm too old that will put my name in the history book? And I was like, no Asian person have run across America before. And I could run, like pretty decent. And in the military, they make you hike like 20 miles, 10 miles with a pack on, like 70 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm like, if I could just like walk 20 miles a day, I could make it from LA to New York in 6 months. And with no weights, easy,
Damn.
So I started hosting like a couple like local team runs. People would come out, run with me and stuff. I did like 15 miles. That was really easy. And then I went to the gym for 2 hours with one of my friend who's also a fitness coach. And I was like, yeah, it's not bad. But I looked up in Google, and they said an average person can actually walk 20 miles a day and be fine.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, if I could just do that.
So what are you going to do along the way in terms of work and lodging and stopping? What's your plan?
We actually bought an RV.
Okay, sick.
So your logo on this project will actually go on the RV.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's going to be West's logo, Garrett's logo, your logo, Paradigm, like all this crazy company we worked with.
Yep.
On the freaking RV. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. And I wanted to buy some Times Square space. So when we make it over there, I could be like this. And it's like all of our stuff is right there. Like all the people that helped me along the way.
Hell yeah.
That donated, We started like doing some couple rounds of donation and running, and like we raised like 70,000 meals through Feeding America.
Wow.
So if you go on Feeding America, Team Feed, I'm actually competing with Tony Robbins and this one other I would say lady. She's sponsored by The Rock.
Nice.
So they're like first and second place. And Neil Patel, I think he's like third or fifth or something like that. And I'm 12th.
Amazing.
So
good for you, man. This is awesome.
If I finish the run and get everything met, I'll actually beat like Tony Robbins and The Rock.
Wow.
So that's our goal.
Hell yeah.
And we're in Miami right now, guys. Like literally it's raining right behind us,
Wild.
There's no like...
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Definitely crazy. And so yeah, let's start with you. I want to use your story too to inspire people and hang out with you all day today. You're like super cool, and like you got that like I call it the long dick energy. I don't know what it is. It's so chill.
Appreciate you, dog. Well, I've had an ill time with you guys as well. It's been dope.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I want you to share a little bit more about your stories and, like when did all this started for you?
For sure. So I had a very limited conception of the world. When I was in third grade, I told my teacher, "Listen, lady, I don't know what you're going to teach me that I don't already know."
Damn.
That was just the way that I viewed life. My dad had taught me a lot. He helped me become pretty social. He helped me become comfortable. He taught me a lot about sales. And I became closed-minded because I thought I knew everything. And I tell that story because it kind of stayed with me my entire life, and it was the reason that I was unable to grow. I had this fixed mindset. And sports were really my identity. I did great in school. I didn't like school, but I did well. Once I got into high school, I started to get into drinking and using drugs. And from the moment I started drinking alcohol, I just had zero control over it. Blacking out. I got a DUI at 18. I got an assault charge shortly thereafter. I get recruited to play hockey. I go to prep school. I get kicked out for drinking, using drugs. I come back home. I get another DUI, another assault charge. My family's like, "What? We just don't know what to do with this kid anymore." So they kick me out of the house. I lose all my rights to play college hockey. I lose my scholarships. I end up getting recruited to play football. I go to play football at a college, and after the last football game of the season, I get really drunk. I get in a fight. I knock this kid out, put 47 staples in his head.
Damn.
I get kicked out of school. I thought I killed the kid. I go back home. I'm living with my parents for a short period of time, and I get my third DUI. I get another assault charge. I get kicked off of my junior hockey team. It was just a complete mess. And so I was in a bad spot. I think I was 23. Was living with a couple other guys. My family was just distraught at how much I had ruined my life. From college hockey scholarships and a 4.0 in high school, college. Like I had done really well with a supposedly promising future.
Yeah.
I was just squandering everything. Just fucking up bad.
You were like a straight A student.
Straight A student.
So
Straight A student, really high SATs.
Damn.
I went to Phillips Exeter, which was the #1 academic prep school in the nation. I got recruited to play football at Dartmouth originally. I thought I was going to go there, and then just ended up I went to Bentley College in University of Massachusetts, a 100% finance school. Then I went back, went to community college, ended up graduating from the University of Vermont. It took me 8.5 years to graduate with an undergraduate degree. I went to rehab multiple times. I had medical withdrawal, all my DUIs and judicial consequences. I had a lawyer on retainer by 19 years old.
Wow.
I spent almost $100,000 on a lawyer from those early days of DUIs, assault charges. He tipped me off that I was being followed by the cops for initially in high school selling coke.
Yeah.
And then later on, after when I was selling OxyContin, I was just, it was amazing. It was astounding that I grew up with such a loving, wonderful family with 2 loving married parents and an amazing sister that, taught me amazing values. And I never wanted for anything. I didn't grow up spoiled or rich, but we were, well enough off where it's not like I was poor. I didn't need anything. And it was amazing to me that I just got to this point where I needed drugs and alcohol. It was the most important thing. No matter how much I loved my family, I needed drugs and alcohol to get by.
Wow.
And it became so apparent to me when I got addicted to OxyContin. And this is where things got really crazy. When I was 23 and I quit drinking, I had to. I had no choice. I was going to go to jail for years after my third DUI if I didn't quit drinking. So I ended up getting addicted to OxyContin, which is the most addictive painkiller ever made. It's synthetic heroin. And so once I did it once, from there it was just all downhill. And I ended up getting to this position where I could function incredibly on OxyContin. I was running a bank. At that point I was an accountant. I was doing accounting, I was waiting tables, and I was managing apartments with drug dealers in them. I was doing all three of these things on Oxycontin, and I was doing it perfectly. Oh, and by the way, I was still going to school at the time.
Wow.
The problem was when I didn't have Oxycontin, I was a menace. I couldn't live. I couldn't get off the couch. You know, it's so addictive that without it, there was no life for me. And so this started to become a problem because we got to a point where my habit was 5 Oxycontin 80s a day. Dang. You know, that's 80 times 5, that's you know,
400.
a couple $100 a day.
Yeah.
And so it was like, dude, this is a problem. But once our supply stopped coming in, I started robbing kids at gunpoint to get Oxycontin.
Oh,
right? It came to that. And I found myself doing that a couple times, and then I got robbed. My Sig Sauer slipped out of my pants. Kid took it, took the last 10-pack I had and the last $800 I had in my pocket, put the gun, he said, get the fuck out. And I had nothing. I had no more beans, no more Oxycontin, no more money. My gun was gone. There was nothing I could do. And I called my parents and I was like, hey, I'm super addicted to Oxycontin. I need some help. I need to go to rehab. So they got me into rehab the next day. Went to rehab, I cleaned up, I got introduced to AA, you know, a great 12-step program. I thought it was cool, but I was like, look, I'll quit Oxycontin, and I wasn't drinking anyway, but I'm not going to quit smoking weed and doing Xanax. There's just no way. So I got out of rehab and I stayed clean for about 6 months from everything. No weed, no Xanax, whatever. And then eventually I was like, all right, I'm getting back into smoking blunts and doing Xanax. So I did. And I kind of lived that muffled, kind of shitty, dull existence. You know, Xanax makes you forget a lot of stuff. And so I was just in like in this like haze. I even had a girlfriend at one point in college just because she had a Xanax prescription. It's the only reason we dated, you know, it's crazy. Real entrepreneur.
You're a real entrepreneur from day one.
100%. You know, it's crazy. I didn't really study in college. I didn't get much out of the teachings that the professors taught me. What college taught me was how to organize people, how to lead and manage people. and what it really taught me how to do was how to organize people in the class to cheat for me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Right? And that's how I got by school, is just I became a good leader and manager of other people, and I did it all the wrong way. But it taught me some valuable skills for sure. I ended up getting kicked out of one of my finance classes because I got caught cheating. But I was always just scheming, you know. I was always scheming how to make money, how to get more drugs, how to organize people. And so that was, I mean, I always had a hustler mentality from early on. I mean, I was selling coke at 19 years old just because I wanted rims on my car and some Air Force Ones, you know. That was it. That was my thought, is, you know, I saw Cameron with spinners and 24s and, you know, flat brim hats and Air Forces and shit, and I was like, I just want to be like Cameron.
Yeah, you want to be that lifestyle.
I want to be a hustler, you know. So I just had it ingrained from an early going.
Was there any like traumatic event or any like trauma that you had that made you the person that you want to be a hustler? Or
yeah, you know what's interesting? No. Right? There's this, well, if I'm really looking back, I think the expectation that I wanted to live up to the potential that my dad always talked about seeing in me. And so I think there was this expectation that I had to live up to this like incredible, you know, person. And I think I actually folded because I got to a point where I was like, I don't want this expectation. I don't want to go play college hockey. I don't want the pressure that I was feeling to go play sports and get recruited and go to an Ivy League school and, you know, become a financial advisor. And I think I just went the other way and said, fuck it, I'm just going to rely on my skills and get fucked up and enjoy myself rather than deal with this pressure. But there wasn't any like specific traumatic experience. You know, I believe that I was born an addict. Like, for example, we would go on cruises when I was a kid. Yeah. And everyone else would go to the buffet and they'd get a plate and they'd go back and sit down. I would take every single piece of food from that buffet. I would sit down with my plate. I would eat 3 bites, and then I would go back up and I would get more. And I would do it over and over and over. And I think that was really like my addictive nature. You know, it's just how I am. I just always wanted more and more and more.
Yeah.
And my dad always said that too. It was so funny. He would always be like, dude, life's not a buffet. But that's how I treated everything.
Wow.
Right? I would just get whatever I wanted and I would just discard the rest.
Damn.
And so I was at this place in my life where I'm out of rehab. I'm no longer using Oxycontin. I'm just kind of blurred out doing Xanax and smoking weed. And I lived this shitty existence. And then I met some guys who were sober. They were a great influence on me. I stayed mildly sober for a couple years, just smoking weed. And then I tweaked my neck wakeboarding.
Oh, shit.
And I got a concussion, tweaked my neck, like, cracked a couple vertebrae, slipped the disc. It was, I still have some like minor neck issues today. And I got prescribed Percocet 30s.
Damn.
And so I did the prescription, the month-long prescription. I did in a week. And next thing you know, I'm back in the college kids' dorm rooms going and getting more Percocet 30s, conning them to sell me bottles of Percocet 30s.
Yeah.
And on my lunch break, I'm smoking Perc 30s off the tinfoil.
Damn.
Here I am again, 25 years old, back in the spot. Luckily, I give that up cold turkey, and I end up seeing a chiropractor, and things start getting better, and so forth. And right around that time, I started coming to Miami, heavily. I went, I had friends that grew up down here. I was coming down here every couple weeks in the wintertime. And I had a chemist that used to make me Molly. And we had a veterinary office in Peru that would send me liquid ketamine. So I would get the Molly and the ketamine, Xanax and weed. I would take it all, and I would bring it down with me to Miami. And I would just come down here and party.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm a financial advisor. I'm making good money. My expenses were low. I was living in Vermont. And I would just come down here and get the penthouse at the One, rent Aston Martins, get tables at Story and Live, and just live the typical Miami playboy life,
Yeah.
Fucked up and handing out drugs to everybody. And it seemed fun for a little while, I was like, I'll come down to Miami, then I'll go back to Vermont, and then I'll kind of clean up my act.
Yeah.
I just lived this way for 4 or 5 years.
Damn.
I never really achieved anything.
That's wild.
And I was managing people's money.
Yeah.
I hated my job. I was kind of on an island, not progressing. And I say this, I say all of this with the fixed mindset portion, prevalent. I never even thought that it was possible to change my mindset. I never even knew anyone that observed their mind or took an objective look at their thoughts. I never met anyone who was really enlightened. I just thought that I was gonna be happy if I got a Ferrari, if I got a Playmate wife, and I got the big $10 million house. That was my thought.
Right.
And the problem was, when I started doing financial advising and I started getting money, and I would come down here and I would party, and I had the sick car, and I had all the Louis shit, and I had, a lot of these material possessions, and I was empty, this little thought process started to change a little bit, and I thought, maybe buying material shit isn't what's going to make me happy.
Yeah.
And so I had that realization, but it was kind of fleeting. I still thought, like, look, I'm not going to just be a monk and not look to have security and make money. But I need more opportunity. Yeah. I can't, the max I'm going to make here is like maybe $500K, maybe $1 million a year doing financial advising in Vermont. It's cold, it's dark. I don't vibe with the people. Politically, I'm way different than a lot of these people, and I'm going to move to Miami. So I packed up all my shit. Just put all my clothes in the car, and I drove down from Vermont straight down to Miami.
How long was the drive?
I did it in 3 8-hour chunks.
Damn.
So I went down to Washington, D.C., and then I went to South Carolina and saw my aunt and uncle, stayed there for the night, and then I got down here. So 24, total hours on the road.
Yeah. That's wild. By yourself?
By myself.
You're just like, split, done,
and
moving.
And when I was in Vermont, I was dating this girl, the only girl I, at the time, had ever really liked, that I had a relationship with. I think we were dating like 1.5 years, which was the longest relationship I had ever had. And I really liked the girl. And she was like, hey, I'm gonna go to fashion school in New York, or a fashion internship in New York for the summer, and then I want to move to LA. And my 2 best friends lived in LA, and so she thought I would move out to LA with her. So I told her, hey, look, I'm done with Vermont. I'm gonna move somewhere. Yeah. It's either probably LA or Miami.
Yeah.
And I came back from one of my trips down here in Miami, and she picked me up from the airport, and she said, how was your trip? And I said, good. I said, I'm gonna move to Miami. And she said, when? I said, probably in like 2 months.
Oh,
this was November, and I ended up moving in January. And, I think at the time it broke her heart, and I moved down to Miami and I was just partying. I was numb. But after a couple months, I hit rock bottom, and I just remember that whole year thinking about her. I didn't talk to a girl for like the first 9 months of my sobriety.
Wow.
And
did you like do it cold turkey too, or?
So I got sober
Uh-huh.
by walking into an AA room because, years ago I had gone to AA through rehabs, and I had friends that were in AA, and I had been in and out of AA. I had tried AA before, and it helped me stay sober from drinking and some other hard drugs, but I'd never used it to like completely get sober. The other thing is I didn't realize that AA wasn't about removing the drugs and the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Like AA is a 12-step program that helps you rearrange your mind. Like what I have a problem with is actually not the drugs and the alcohol. The drugs and the alcohol are the solution to my problem. And my problem is that I have a malady in my brain, right? I have such an addictive brain that I don't think properly without using things addictively.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be anything: drugs, alcohol, food, sex, buying shit, whatever it is. And I had to completely change my mind.
How did you came to that realization? Because that's really deep.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have some tendency of that too, and I know a lot of like high level people have a very high addictive personality. That's like the only way you could do a certain amount of tasks for so long without changing it. And usually the people who do those, they focus and they get very successful at whatever they do.
Totally.
Because there's literally no distraction. They sacrifice everything else around their life to do that.
100%.
Yeah.
I think being an addict, for me, is a superpower, because I was able to channel my addiction towards healthy, positive things, right? And today I'm addicted to momentum and growth. I'm addicted to helping other people.
Yeah.
Like if I go a day without helping a person, I start to feel like I'm withering away.
Oh, wow.
And so my addictions are positive now.
Right,
I've channeled them, right? And
Yeah.
so it's amazing. But it took me 10 years of, like we said, all the DUIs and getting kicked out of the schools and losing my family and spending all this time in court on lawyers, all this shit. None of that brought me to a bottom. I had to be brought to a bottom where I realized, look, I have to surrender. I have to give up. I have to stop thinking that I can control my life, because I realized I wasn't in control of my life.
Yeah.
I'm out at a club partying and I'm so fucked up that I get drugged and robbed. Like I'm putting myself in terrible situations time and time and time again. And I woke up after getting drugged and robbed, and I just felt this massive hole in my chest like I had never felt before. And all I can describe this as is I just felt spiritually bankrupt.
Wow.
I felt like I had less than nothing. It was the worst feeling I had ever felt. And it was at that moment that I said, look, I got to make a change. Mm-hmm. So the very next day, I walked into an AA meeting, and I decided, hey, I'm just going to go to AA here until I find a sponsor. I'm going to do the work. And I found a sponsor, and I did everything the guy asked me to do. Yeah. He said, come to a meeting every single day, call me every day, get numbers of other alcoholics and addicts, call them. You need to get a home group. You're going to get a service commitment. You're going to pick up other guys at the rehab. You're going to bring a meeting into the jail. You're going to do all these things. I did everything.
Wow.
And I just worked on myself. And I think the misconception about AA is that it's really a program of personal development. It's like one of the founding 12-step programs that works through changing your mind and your perception and your reaction to life, so that you can live without drugs and alcohol in a little bit in a healthier way. And so by going through that, it started to help clear out all of the shit that I had been holding on to, all of the resentments, all of the anger, all of the jealousy, all of these maladjusted thoughts that I had never worked through. Because if you think about it, I had basically been numb since I was 13 years old. Damn. Since the day I started smoking weed, doing mushrooms, and drinking. From that day forth, yeah, there was times where I wasn't using drug and alcohol, but I wasn't growing, I wasn't evolving, and most of the time I was masking my emotions and my growth by being high. I smoked weed every single day, basically every single day, and for years I was eating Xanax every single night. And so I wasn't growing, I wasn't working on myself.
Damn.
And so when I was 31 and decided to get sober, I basically had the maturity of a 13-year-old.
Oh.
Right? If you think about it, it had been all those years closed-minded.
Yeah.
I had never read a book. I really didn't study in school. All I did was cheat and organize and manage other people. Mm-hmm. I definitely had never worked on relationships. I didn't even know what that was. You know what I mean? I was just telling you about this before, but that girlfriend I had for the year and a half, I used to make her a doggy bed at the end of the bed, right? I would make a separate bed, and after cuddle time was over, I would say, hey, look, go down to your doggy bed. That's what I thought a relationship was, you know? I just wanted the big apartment with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms so that I didn't have to be bothered, so that my girlfriend could go stay in the other room. That was my conception of a healthy relationship.
Damn.
You know, and so I was just so maladjusted to life. I was so twisted. I had such a fucked up thought process in every way. And so I had a lot of work to do. And so when I got sober at 31, May 6, 2019,
Yeah.
I just spent this entire year going through the 12 steps of AA, starting to mentor, starting to sponsor other guys, starting to help other people get sober. I got a mentor who helped me with way more than just sobriety, with overcoming many demons and challenges. And I started to understand and read Stoicism and Buddhism, and I started to understand how happiness is derived internally rather than by material possessions and external. And this guy just taught me so much about business and structure, and he helped me go from this confusing time in my life to eventually the president of 10X Health, and then eventually starting my own companies.
Like Grant Cardone 10X?
Yeah.
It's
crazy. It was so wild. I always revered and admired, Grant's sales training and his presence on Instagram and his ability to market and his message, and there became this time where he acquired Gary Brecka. Wow. So backing up before that a little bit, I had started moving up. I went from selling cars at the beginning of sobriety, miserable. I was $100,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah.
I was making $55,000 a year.
Damn.
Selling Land Rovers in Miami, in an expensive city.
Yeah.
Living in an $800 a month shit apartment in the middle of Miami Beach. No furniture, just a mattress on the floor, ground floor of this shitty little place.
Yeah.
Cockroaches on the floor. Was disgusting.
Damn.
I went from that to working on myself so much, so incessantly, that I ended up leaving the Rover dealership. I started a financial technologies company with a woman. I was able to pay myself a little bit of a decent salary, $100K. Not much, but still enough to start to get by, slowly digging myself out of credit card debt. And then COVID happens. The business falls apart because the government extended, forbearance. They said people didn't have to pay back loan interest, and the solution we created was a way for a consumer to negotiate and repay their bad debt. So that crumbled, and here I was at the beginning of COVID, March 2020.
Yeah.
Lost again. What am I going to do? I'm sober, and I had started to work on myself. I was reading a couple books. I was learning to meditate, but I definitely wasn't even close to enlightened or successful, and again, I was kind of lost.
Yeah, you were taking step forward, but then setback happens.
Exactly.
Forward, setback.
And my mentor reminded me, he's like, look, this is inevitable. In order to level up, you're going to have retractions. And so without him, I probably would have folded multiple times. Wow. But it was at that time where he said, okay, we're going to run through some exercises. We're going to identify what are your skills, what are your interests, what's your experience, and what's your purpose. And I spent a lot of time in prayer and reflection, journaling, meditation, observing myself, and then getting feedback from him and starting to develop what is Wade even like. I didn't even know. Before COVID, I didn't even know what I liked. I'm not even kidding. My mentor said, what do you like? And I said, ketamine and hookers? That was it. That was all I knew, right? I just liked drugs and girls, I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, you got some soul searching to do.
Wow.
So I did. And during this period of time, I actually had been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. and doctors told me I was going to be on steroids and immunosuppressants for the rest of my life. These just shitty medications. And I just couldn't believe that I was going to be on these medications with side effects for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I started reading about the liver. I started reading about nutrition, about health, about all this. And these doctors, they didn't want to hear anything that I had to say about the chance that maybe my nutrition and my lifestyle and some of these things would affect my condition. They were like, no, you just take the drugs and shut up.
Okay.
And I had this resentment against the traditional medical system for a little while. And luckily I found functional medicine. I found a doctor who was like, hey, look, talk to a nutritionist. You should probably get on this kind of diet. You should probably take a couple supplements, maybe do some glutathione injections. And I started doing this stuff. I stopped eating processed foods, no artificial sweeteners, no fried foods. And all of a sudden the inflammation came down and my liver enzymes started to get normal. And then COVID happens. And I say, look, I want to help people. And I realized that through my own functional health journey, I want to be in some form of health, but I want to be in medical sales. But not traditional medical sales, some form of this functional medicine sales. That's as far as I got with my vision board, and my purpose. But I just knew I wanted to help people. So I was telling everyone, hey, I want to get into some form of this functional, non-traditional medicine. And one of my buddies calls me and says, hey, I met this guy who owns a hormone replacement clinic. I think he's going to close the doors. He's struggling. It's COVID. No one's coming in. But, you should talk to him. Mm-hmm. So I go up there, drive up to Aventura. By the way, my hair was down to here, right? I had this long blondish hair. I had literally just been like surfing and kind of hanging out. The financial technology job, I was out every day in the sun, like kind of fucking around,
Yeah.
So I remember I put a comb through my hair, a wet comb. I combed it straight back, and then I just chopped it off with a scissor. And then I slicked it all back. And so I walked in with this Swedish, slick back haircut to this interview. First thing I say to the guy is, excuse my haircut, man. He goes, no, I like it. It's fine. He says, so tell me a little about yourself. I tell him my background. I said, tell me a little about the company. He says, hey, look, we need someone to take over sales and marketing and scale this company. We're struggling with that. But no one's coming in the door, and we don't know what to do. And I said, well, I just read an article in the Wall Street Journal that said they're relaxing telemedicine laws, which means you can prescribe these hormones in all 50 states now without the doctor having to be licensed in all the states. They can just be licensed in Florida. And he says, yeah, that's true, but we don't have a way to get leads across the country, and we don't know enough about sales and marketing to do this. And I said, well, I do. Mm-hmm. And he says, okay, that's great. Well, what do you know about medicine? And I said, zero.
Okay.
And at the time, I didn't know how to build a culture. I hadn't managed people. I didn't know that much about sales and marketing. Yeah, I listened to a lot of Grant and Jordan Belfort and Alex Ramosi, and I was a great sales guy my whole life, and I understood psychology, but I had not really managed people. So this guy took a chance on me. And I go into this company, and I get there, and after the first week, I'm like, oh my God, what have I signed up for? Their sales guys were living in 1994. Writing everything by handwritten notes, not using the CRM, not qualifying their leads, just giving people price to try and get them off the phone, zero follow-up. They didn't understand cadence, no automated text messages. They were following this old shitty script. They didn't know how to have a question-based framework. They didn't know how to draw pain points out of people. They didn't know how to sell them the vacation. They didn't know how to determine value and make sure they were a fit and then close them and set the right expectations. They didn't know any of this shit. They were not aware of anything. So I was like, all right, I got my work cut out for me. So I redid all the scripts, all the cadence, all the automated messages. I gave them all a book called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I started to help them understand that if they wanted a chance at a successful future and making more money, they needed to start to change their mindset. Some of them read it. Most of them said, fuck you, we know, we've been here way longer than you. Who are you going to teach us about?
Yeah.
It's all right. So I did the best I could and started hosting morning meetings. I started teaching them how to meditate. And it was crazy. I got a lot of resistance from these guys. But after teaching them how to meditate, they started opening their minds. They started to become addicted to meditation. They started to love it. And then they started having some better conversations with people, and they were getting people to the point of ready to close, but they weren't closing them.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I just said, look, I'm going to close these deals for you guys in front of you. Instead of picking up the phone and doing it in private in my office, I'm going to walk over to your desk and I'm going to get on the phone and you're going to watch me. And then I started to tell them, look, take out your phone and video me every time I close a deal for you, and watch it over and over and over. And every time you come into my office and we listen to a recorded call and I teach you something and I give you a lesson or I get on the whiteboard, take out your phone and record it. And to these guys, they were like dinosaurs. They didn't even know how to use their phones, right? And they're like, wow, this is next level. This is revolutionary. You mean we don't have to like handwrite notes anymore? And I'm like, no, just video me. Sales meetings in the morning, you like something I say, video me.
How long ago was this?
This was 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so I changed the entire culture of the organization, right? I said, guys, first off, cut the button-up shirt shit out.
Yeah.
Wear some polos. You don't have to tuck them in. You don't have to wear these wing-tipped shoes anymore. You can wear sneakers. It's okay, relax.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun here. We're going to make this thing fun. I started to gamify the system. I changed their incentive, their commission structures. And they started digging in and liking it. All of a sudden, sales are going up and up and up by like $100,000 per month. And we're adding more sales guys. And now they're telling me, hey, marketing's not giving us great leads and marketing's not giving us the materials we need. And so I said, okay, no problem. Let's pull the marketing manager into the sales meetings in the morning, and everything you guys need, you tell me, we'll write it here on the whiteboard, and then the marketing manager will go back and write this. And I'll do you one better. I'm going to make sure that Chad's got all the recorded calls, and I'm going to compile all the questions that these leads are asking you guys. And Chad's going to start writing blog articles and copy about the questions that you're being asked in real time. So that when you guys tell me you don't have collateral, you don't have ebooks, you don't have blog articles, and you don't have templated emails about the questions you're being asked, I can come to you and tell you, you have it all here right now. And so I started helping them close leads and move them down the funnel. And then vice versa, we started giving feedback to the marketing guys to help them with better lead quality and where to place leads. And we started working with different vendors, and I started explaining to the marketing guys how to create a flywheel versus a typical funnel. Now we have this cohesive unit of sales and marketing mixing together, and they start to feel a part of each other. Rather than battling each other of your leads suck and sales guys can't close, it's, hey, let's work together. And we went from a 7% close rate to a 31% close rate on leads, which is astounding. It's ridiculous. To close 31% of all of your leads is very high.
That's badass.
In a consultative sale where the average spend is $4,300, right? This was like blowing the owners away, and we went from $4 million in annualized revenue, losing a couple $100,000 a year when I started, to after a year and a half, $11 million, netting almost $2 million, right? And so it was an unbelievable journey.
Yeah.
And then I saw the next opportunity, which was I was abrasive. My emotional intelligence still wasn't where it needed to be. I was very reactive, and I was constantly attacking operations. I got sales and marketing aligned, no problem.
Right.
But I didn't have operations where I needed to be. And the operations manager, amazing lady, love her to death, but she didn't know sales, and she didn't know marketing, and she didn't understand my position, what I was trying to do and grow in the company.
Right.
So I eventually got to this point where I said, look, I'm going to teach her about sales and marketing and revenue, and then I'm going to show her how to negotiate her salary in a way that's tied to revenue. So after I teach her about sales, marketing, finance, and how it integrates with operations, I'm then going to give her a way to implement the knowledge that I taught her so that she can make more money. And now she's really going to help me sell more. Right? She's going to help me so that I'm not wasting money on these leads, and we're not losing people through the system, because she's providing a service that's congruent with what we said in marketing and what sales said on the phone. So I work with this lady quite a bit. She becomes very open-minded. She starts to become sales-oriented, and it's just beautiful. It was amazing. For me, it was a very happy time. At the same time, we had a CFO, right? We now were at a point where we could hire a CFO and come in and clean up the financials and give me some financial data, and we started to have key indicators, and this kid he's brilliant. Love this kid. His name is Frank. Came in and helped me clean up all the financials, and he helped me work with the director of operations. And he and I taught her sales and finance and, the importance of some of the metrics that we needed and how to manage employees. she flourished. She just blossomed, and she became, a great friend and one of my favorite people to work with. Yeah. And so now we have this beautiful, marketing, sales, operations, and she also managed the medical team. So now the medical team's on board with the whole journey. And we start getting more testimonies and reviews and referrals, and it's just amazing. Everything's going incredible. So I do this, and this one kid that I personally developed, he was an RN. I brought him into sales. I showed him how to go from 80K to over 200K in commission in his earnings. He ends up leaving, takes another job, and on the side, he starts doing IVs, mobile IVs at people's homes. He calls me one day and he said, "You'll never believe I just did a couple IVs on a few celebrities." Mm-hmm. I said, "Oh, wow, that's cool. Who are you working with?" And he says, "Well, I'm working with Gary Brecka, and he just got acquired by Grant Cardone." Yeah. And I knew who Gary Brecka was because he's just a genius in the industry. He's a amazing view on longevity in medicine, and I'd been hearing of him and seeing his teachings, and I knew a little bit about Streamline Medical, and then I heard, oh, well, Grant acquired him. Holy shit, this is a power combo, you know what I mean? Now you got Grant Cardone and Gary Brecka together. This thing's going to be crazy. Yeah. And Jay says, yeah, it could be, but they don't have the systems in place. They don't have the operations. They don't have the technology. They don't actually know how to mix the private pay medicine with the business in a way that optimizes revenue but also enhances the patient journey. And I said, all right, well, tell them that you know the guy who is the most uniquely qualified person in the country, who literally just took an organization from the Stone Ages to 3X in a short period of time and created a technology platform, a sales team, a marketing and operations flywheel. Tell him. Yeah. So he tells them, and I get a call from 10X.
That's crazy.
A couple days later, I go up there, I have a meeting with all of them, with all the executives. I'm sitting down with Gary, Brandon Dawson, Natalie, a bunch of other executives. And they asked me a few questions about my experience, and I explained to them what I had just done. And they said, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, I have a couple. I asked them probably about 15 to 20 questions that they couldn't answer. Mm-hmm. And at that time, they were like, wow. Those are things that really nobody knows unless they've been through this exact journey that you've just been through. We got to work with you. What position do you want? Yeah. And I said president. Right? Luckily I had built my confidence through the person I had become. I had always had this, growing up I was arrogant. Yeah. But I lacked internal confidence because I was relying on my God-given skills and my looks, but I was never developing myself internally by building my character through discipline, habits, and helping other people. But once I started to go through this journey, and I started to do that at Health Gains, and I worked with my mentor, and I got sober, and I started to help other people, I started to build real confidence. And so it was at that moment when I was there, I was just like, look, I'm going to be president. They said, okay, let's figure out your comp, and let's roll. I said, look, one thing. If I do this and come over, look, I have two options right now. I'm either going to buy the clinic that I just built, or I'm going to come work with you guys, and we're going to buy that clinic. And it's a platform that we can utilize. It's a technology system that we can plug into 10X, and a sales team and an engine that we can utilize to help scale this company. And they said, I think that's a great idea. So I left, became president of 10X, and within 3 weeks, we sent a letter of intent to the company that I had just built, and 2 months later, we acquired them.
Damn. So, I actually heard of your name before. Before I even met you, before I know anything about you, I heard of your name before through one of the video with Grant Cardone or something. Wade Houston. I was like, and now to get to meet you and hear all the back end story, that's like kind of deja vu. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of weird. I'm not like in reality kind of feeling. I don't know. It's kind of strange.
Totally. I've had that happen before.
Yeah. It's like, you know what it's called?
I don't know if there's a name for it. We'll just call it surrealism.
Yeah. So it just doesn't feel real. I feel like I'm in a dream.
Totally.
That
happens to me online all the time.
Really?
Yeah, it happened to me with Colin Yerkison. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He had done a video with Gary Brecka.
Yeah.
A longevity video, a YouTube, and I had watched it, and I actually started using his video to train employees, and I would send it to prospective clients because it was so well done. And I felt like I knew this kid, right? I had actually felt like, because I'd seen the video so many times and Gary talked about him, and I was like, wow, I feel like I know this kid. And then when I met him in real life, it was like surrealism, right? It was like, I felt like I already knew him. It's wild. It's crazy how the internet works, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
So, boom, you're over there at 10X, president, took over the operation, so the company to yourself, kind of your company.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It was, I'll never forget that day.
Yeah.
For me, it was one of the coolest days of my life when we walked back into Health Gains,
Yeah.
the company that I was the director of growth of, and left to become president of a larger company, and then walk back in the doors of the company that I had built 3 months later and say, I'm now the president of you guys and all of 10X Health, and we're acquiring you.
That is sick. And I had the supplement, like the electrolytes.
Solid, right?
Super badass.
Hell yeah.
I was like, damn.
This became my life. You know, for me, this was surreal also because at the beginning of COVID, remember, I knew nothing about medicine.
Yeah.
So to go from not knowing anything about medicine and only holding a sales job before that.
Yeah.
I had never been a sales manager, a marketing manager, a director of growth, an executive, nothing. I was a salesman in every job I ever did. So to go from a non-medically educated auto sales guy to, in a year and a half, the president of 10X Health and acquiring the company that I had just built, I'll never forget. I was in Brandon's Wraith. You know, I'm driving over there, and he says, "This has got to be about the coolest feeling you've ever had, huh?"
Wow.
And I said, "Yeah, really. This is the coolest feeling I've ever had."
It's no one gets to experience stuff like that.
I don't. Yeah, I asked Brandon. I said, "Has this ever happened to you?" He said, "Never." Never. He said, "I've never seen a situation like this."
Wow.
And for me, the craziest thing was when I left Health Gains, the company before 10X.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sadness there, you know, because I had built a culture, and this was a fun, upbeat, entertaining culture where I help people personally develop and learn to meditate and like coming into work.
Yeah.
And when I left, they were all concerned it would go back to the way the culture was before. And so there was a lot of sadness. And I told all of them, I said, "Guys, this isn't goodbye forever. I will be back. It's just not going to look like it looks today."
Damn.
And they were all like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "I don't know." But I knew what it meant. I already knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so for me to walk back in, and I couldn't talk to any of them, because in order for us to consummate this deal and have 10X buy them, I couldn't even talk to any employees. So for 3 months, I talked to not one of them.
Wow.
And I felt bad, right? Because I had developed relationships with these people, and they're reaching out to me and saying hello, and I would just say like, "Hey, hope you're doing well." And that was it. And I couldn't really talk much. So for me to walk back in the door 3 months later and say, now not only am I the director of growth, but I'm the president, it was like a round of applause and some tears, and it was just amazing. You know, it was an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's that's badass.
Hell yeah.
That's I don't know how many words to say. Like, you just conquer, come back, like, boom, back to the village. Like, bam, I saved y'all.
And not without massive challenges. You
Yeah.
know, it was it was a roller coaster ride, because imagine the owner of the clinic. He and his wife owned this hormone clinic.
Yeah.
I come in as a non-medically educated sales guy with a little bit of an attitude that made a lot of changes very quickly. Mm-hmm. And as they started seeing results, they started seeing their business kind of slip away from them a little bit, right? Yeah. And yes, look, I helped them sell their business basically for a great price. But ultimately, they had a very hard time, you know, completely letting go.
Right.
And so it was very weird for them, and it was a little bit of a power struggle back and forth. And so I went through this, you know, crazy experience of growing the company very quickly, leaving, we acquired it. And then it was a whole new sprouting experience again. And now I'm at the next level. Instead of taking a company from 4 million to 11 million, you know, Brandon said, "Hey, look, this is $1 billion company. We're gonna make 10x $1 billion company. Here's the vision. And I said, okay, look, I'm totally in. I am 150% bought in. And he said, look, I'm basically taking a chance on you as well. The most you've ever done is the director of growth. You've never been a president. You've never brought a company to $1 billion, but I see a real future in you. And he said, just stay close to me, just learn. And so I learned so much from Brandon in the 9 months that I was the president of 10X Health. I got to spend so much time with him, traveling across the country, spending time, on the jet with him, watching him, learning one-on-one. He also would bring me to these Cardone Ventures dinners. So he ran a company still runs a company called Cardone Ventures, which helps business owners grow and scale through workshops, one-on-ones, business mastery leadership programs. And he brought me along, and he didn't have to, but he would bring me to these dinners and these events, and I would talk to business owners, and I just learned so much about growth and structure and scale in a very short amount of time. And Brandon's a really, really special individual, one of my favorite people I've ever met, but I just was so blessed to be able to work one-on-one with him.
Yeah. That's so cool, because you're basically learning everything at a hyperscale level.
I mean, we're talking like mouth wide open, fire hose just dumping down, right? Because we're growing so fast that we're outpacing the capacity of our vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So our vendors can't keep up with the demand of the orders that we're putting in for certain things like, maybe a blood test or a genetic test or supplements or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so we're outpacing them so fast. I, as the president, have to determine, when do we buy this company? When do we buy the vendor that we're working with?
Damn.
When have we expanded fast enough where we start buying clinics in Beverly Hills, maybe in Arizona, and in these other states? Like, when do we start acquiring these other people? And that's what happens at hyperscale is, you start to have this convergence. And I didn't know how to acquire companies with minimal out of pocket, how to identify, have these conversations. And by having Steve, my mentor, and Brandon, my other mentor, I learned all this so quick. And so in 3 years, I went from a sales guy to acquiring companies, with Brandon Dawson. It was just a wild, wild ride.
Wow.
And the reason this all happened is because I started saying no to all the bullshit.
Yeah.
No more going out. Wade, do you want to go to a dinner at 10:30? No. Do you want to go to the club? No. Do you want to go have you want to go to this rave or this concert? No. And all of that, no. It was bed at 9 o'clock, 9:30 Friday nights. Meeting with my mentor at 7:30 a.m. every single Saturday morning. Starting to get disciplined with my workout, my routine, my habits. New Year's Eve, what did I start doing? Going out? No.
Damn.
I started writing my goals the day before. I would review all my goals with my mentor, and then I would reflect on the year past, what I could improve on, and how I could start the next year focused on moving towards my goals. And my goals were no longer some wishy-washy bullshit. Mm-hmm. I created goals, and then I set out an action plan. Then I broke out the action plan into 3-month sprint plans, and then I would take the sprint plan and I would calendar the habits necessary to achieve my sprint plan, thus to fulfill my action plan, thus to shatter my goals. Mm-hmm. And so this was the system that I started using. I stopped even thinking about my goals. I wanted the Porsche. I would put the Porsche down, and then I would say, how much a month, right? Okay, if it's going to cost me $2,000 a month, how much income do I need to be able to have a $2,000 a month payment? Now, what do I need to do to get that income? How many people do I have to talk to? And then I would just say, okay, my habit is I need to send 30 DMs per day. I need to make 10 pieces of content. I need to help this many people, right? And so every day I just follow these habits. I'm not even thinking about the Porsche anymore. I got that Porsche way ahead of schedule.
Damn.
And it's not just that, the apartment, the job positions, moving up, all the goals that I wanted, how much I wanted to invest into crypto, how much I wanted to invest into private deals, I shattered everything. And my mentor would literally look at my goals with me and say, double that. And I still shattered everything he told me to double because we didn't make it some bullshit hopeful plan. We created real action plans and calendared habits. And so that's the blueprint that started helping me. And it was just such an amazing journey of personal development, of going from, I never read a book in my life to almost 50 books in year one.
Damn.
You know, I never really knew meditation to becoming an avid meditator, someone who taught people how to meditate.
Yeah.
Right? I went from the most reactive person ever who constantly regretted what I would say and what I would do to a much more poised, emotionally intelligent, relaxed, calm person. Still driven, but my whole mindset and my reaction to life shifted through this consistent personal development of discipline, never missing workouts, becoming healthy through my eating habits, being on a proper diet, you know, getting the right amount of sleep, removing all the vices from my life, not going out, not hanging out with the wrong people, and just reading, researching, learning on YouTube, working with a mentor, changing my friend circle, going to different places, and only hanging out with people that were developing personally and moving towards success in all the areas that I was interested in.
Damn. So like, you went from 100K credit card debt to building all these companies, and now you're, you know, at the top level. What's the next move for you?
The next move is to continue to build out my coaching program in a way that I have a platform to be able to help 1 million people within 10 years.
Oh, wow. And when did you start this coaching program?
I started the coaching program July 1st. So it's we're November 13th today. So I've been at it for 4.5 months.
Damn. How many clients do you have?
72.
Whoa.
It was wild. So I meet Wes Watson on a boat.
Yeah.
And I liked his aura, his presence. I didn't know him before. I had never seen him on social media. I didn't know who he was. And he started telling me what he does, and I was very intrigued. And he asked me, you know, what I do, what my story was. So I told him, hey, I used to be the president of 10X Health, and I left. I have a healthcare consultancy, and also I have a supplement manufacturing company. I can help you create Wes Watson, whatever you want to call it, supplements.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. I'll formulate them, I'll package them, I'll create, and I'll even handle the shipping, returns, logistics, all that shit. And he says to me, look, man, it's just not my passion right now. My passion is helping people through my coaching programs. And I said, but what if I could show you a way to add $2 million to your bottom line next year? And he goes, bro, I make over $2 million a month.
That's wild.
I'm really not interested in the supplement thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it. All right. So he asked me a couple more questions about my story, and I told him about overcoming addiction and hitting rock bottom and becoming the president and working through all these issues in my life. And he goes, damn, man, I just don't know. What the fuck are you doing not helping and coaching other people? And I said, well, I don't know how. How do I create a coaching program? And he says, online, man. I said, well, how do I get clients? He says, on Instagram, it's the easiest thing ever. And I said, look, man, I have a fear of, you know, what people are going to think, or, you know, making a selfie video or talking to the camera. And he goes, based on what you just told me, do you really think that you've gone through all that pain and all that struggle not to help other people? And I was like, yeah, no, I've been thinking a lot about this recently, man. In fact, for the past 3 months, I've been praying about this and asking for a sign. And he goes, you would be fucking selfish to not create a coaching program.
Wow.
That was it. And I called my buddy and I was like, yo, did you ever do Wes's coaching program? He said, yeah, man, it changed my life. I texted Wes. I said, let's roll, dude. Let's roll. I didn't even ask him about the program. Nothing. I just said, let's roll. I didn't ask him one fucking question. Dang. So we did it. And he showed me how to deliver my purpose and my passion. You know, I've overcome a lot. And
Yeah.
I've been personally developing people. I had mentees. I was doing this already. I just wasn't selling online, and I didn't have a formal program with structure. And so it was so obvious when I opened my coaching program that this is what I was meant to do. You know, like I told you, I had 6 people say, we've been waiting for you to open a coaching program.
Damn.
Results have been amazing. I've had clients making a ton more money. I have clients getting in incredible shape, fixing their marriages, increasing their confidence. The messages I get every day are just joyous. You know, I cry. I've cried more than I ever have in my whole life in the past 4 months.
Wow.
And that's out of joy, you know, of helping people. So look, from here, there's just no limit, because I'm no longer searching for a job just to make money.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I love. I've found my purpose. And I don't even give a fuck what happens with the money. Like, obviously, I want money and security and to be able to help a lot of people in abundance, but I'm doing what I love. And so for me, it's just about creating a foundation to be able to help as many people as humanly possible. And
Wow.
that's it. That's my real goal from here on out.
Yeah. It's definitely crazy. Like Wes changed so many lives. I wonder like what he thinks in his like, his spare time. Like, damn, did I just really do all that?
I always wonder that too.
Yeah, I'm like,
Does he really realize
really
that
think
he's changed thousands and tens of thousands of people's lives?
yeah, it's freaking crazy.
Yeah,
And he's so unselfish, he just does it. Like,
it's amazing.
crazy, crazy. So, your story, we got a little glimpse of that, and now I want to ask some questions through all the pain, through all the lessons, through all the struggle you've been through. I want to get some nuggets out of you so I can like share with the world and help inspire and uplift people that are going through certain things. So, like for you, through all the pain, like I'm sure there was a moment when you didn't make any money at your job at the Land Rover as a salesman, 100K in debt, had no purpose, and had no one to lean on. Like, what helped you, like I don't know, like ground yourself and not give up? Like, that's anybody in that position would fail. I would say most people.
I was broken. And so I think it was out of a point of desperation
Yeah.
that for me, it was God. It was divine intervention where God put me in a position and I had no other choice but to accept help. And I just remember feeling so broken and so out of control in my life that I was just going to do whatever the people in AA said. Because I knew it was the one place where they worked a program that, helped them rearrange their mindset.
Mm.
And I knew I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. So it was the natural place for me to go. So look, it was that. It was really working through the 12 steps of AA, which, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the point of AA is to bring about a spiritual experience in someone's life, to bring them closer to a power greater than themselves that they can rely on for the rest of their life to abstain from drugs and alcohol, change their mind, and help others.
Wow.
And so it actually has nothing to do with really, removing the drugs and alcohol is just to help you get a clear mind.
Right.
But then you have to work through all of the resentments and the emotional baggage and stress and all of the character defects that you have inside you that are blocking you from having a relationship with God. And so that's the point of AA. And if you do the 12 steps as it's laid out with a sponsor, you'll have a spiritual experience. I had a spiritual experience, and over time, it's not like one day I just had a light bulb and said, I believe in God, and I believe wholeheartedly in God in every facet of my life. Like I always had a rough conception of him, but over time and through these lessons and through these people I was around, I started to believe more and more in God, and I started to rely more and more on God. And when I started to see the blessings in my life as a result of seeking him and doing what it seemed like he should have me do, that everything just started to come together slowly and not without setback.
Mm-hmm.
Like
how'd you handle that? Because I know like it was rock bottom for you, and you're just crawling yourself out there. Like obviously through my experience and other people as well, like when you're at rock bottom, you finally make a milestone. It's like it feels so good, but then like a setback a lot of time throw people off.
Yep.
Is there like a way that like a method you use to not like throw yourself off?
It started off by having a sponsor and a mentor. A sponsor is someone who guides you through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's somebody who's been through it and changed their mind. And so leaning on that person and other, wise people in the rooms was huge. I'll give you an example. When I got drugged and robbed down here in Miami and I hit rock bottom, I was planning on finding that woman who drugged me and killing her.
Wow.
And I was serious. Like, I wasn't like, oh, maybe I'll do this. No. I was going to go get the footage and I was going to find her. In fact, my next thought was I'm going to go get a fake Rolex. I'm going to stand on the street corner exactly where she got me at 4 a.m. every morning when they do this kind of shit, because it was like a known racket where they would find people with nice watches and steal, drug them and steal them for their shit.
Damn.
I was going to wait and I was going to find her. I was going to remember who she was and I was going to kill her. And over a couple weeks in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was telling my story, and this one old man said to me, "You shouldn't kill that lady." He said, "In fact, if you ever see that lady again, you should give her a hug and say thank you for saving my life." Because he says to me, "Bro, you've been in and out of AA for 10 years. You've lived a fucked up, miserable existence. You've never hit rock bottom and you've never changed your life for the better. But that woman brought you to rock bottom, which helped you change your life, get sober, and now you're having a spiritual experience. Look at your progress in," I think it was like only a couple months, "look at your progress already in this short amount of time." And I just started crying, and I just started thinking like, oh my God, this guy's right.
Yeah.
My perception is fucked up. And he said to me, "Dude, that's your angel. Sometimes your angels are disguised as the devil." And that hit me so hard because time and time again, this has happened to me through my journey in sobriety, where someone tries to take me down. They try and manipulate my words or attack me or try and get me removed from a company or fired, or I've had this happen throughout my journey several times. And I'm able to reflect and talk to my sponsor and talk to my mentor and work through, and instead of reacting and doing something really dumb or holding this resentment, I'm able to look at the situation objectively. And that's because I work with somebody one-on-one, I meditate, I read spiritual and growth books, and I'm able to say, oh yeah, that person is just someone that's come into my life to alter the trajectory of my life. Whether they harm me or hurt me or make my life uncomfortable, it doesn't matter. God is putting them in my life to alter my trajectory in a direction I could never otherwise alter myself.
That is like a level 10 observation.
Right?
Like, you gotta be really sick to like think of it that way, but it works out. Like,
Yeah.
that that is crazy.
Well, there's no growth
Yeah.
in a period of comfort.
Right.
So if I'm comfortable and life is easy and everybody's nice to me and nobody's harming me, that's great. But I'm not growing.
Right.
When I become really uncomfortable and something fucked up happens, or someone hurts me or tries to harm me or is malicious or does something that I think I don't deserve, and I have to make a decision on how to react, that's when I'm growing the most.
Damn.
And so it's all right if I'm uncomfortable or someone does something fucked up. It's a period of growth. And I have to sit with it. I have to be okay with the fact that I'm going to have some really uncomfortable emotions, and that if I can walk through those, I'll continue to grow.
Damn. That's so badass. So Wes, I think Wes is 100% right. Like, you're like a wealth of knowledge, and you have all this option with you all the time. You know, very good looking guy too as well, and you just have so much option around you that you can give people really good advice, because a lot of people might not have the same option as you, but as they grind and continue to grow on their path, they will have those options that you have right now. You know, and let's talk about, you know, some dating advice. You were giving us some game earlier, and I would love for you to share that to the audience. You know,
For sure.
like just you know, not some crazy stuff, but like some healthy stuff, like boundaries men should have nowadays with the current dating situation and everything that's going on. Like, share some experience, brother.
Totally. It's funny. I know I've had this funny journey, and I always tell this story about. This actually has nothing to do with dating, but this is what set the scene for my entire life. And when I was 7 years old, we were out to dinner at a restaurant, and my dad said to me, "Okay, you're the man of the table now. You're gonna order the food for the family, and you're gonna, have the conversation with the waiter." I said, "Dad, I really don't want to." And he said, "You're going to. You're going to learn a lot."
Yeah.
He said, "Look, when the waiter comes to the table and they tell us their name, you're going to say, 'Nice to meet you,' their name, and then you're going to use their name in a sentence. And don't forget their name. It'll be the most important thing you can ever remember."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." So the guy comes to the table and says, "Hey, I'm Jason. I'll be your waiter." And I said, "Thanks, Jason. Nice to meet you. something something, and then, hey Jason, I would like to have a Shirley Temple and one for my sister. And so I didn't forget the guy's name. Halfway through the dinner, I look over and there's a 50-year-old man sitting there with his wife at the table next to us, and he's flailing his arms. Sir, excuse me, sir, trying to get the attention of the waiter, Jason.
Yeah.
Jason doesn't come over to him. Why? Because everybody in the room is a sir. Jason doesn't respond to sir unless he sees this fucking guy screaming and wailing at him. But instead, if somebody called his name, even at a normal decibel, a normal tone, he would come over. And so my dad said, call him. So I said, excuse me, Jason. And he comes over. I said, my sister and I would like 2 Shirley Temples, please. And we had our Shirley Temples back, and I remember sitting there sipping my Shirley Temple, enjoying it, before Jason ever greeted that bumbling fuck who couldn't even remember his name, just screaming, sir, excuse me, sir. And it was at that moment that I realized all I had to do was be patient, listen, and get somebody's name in a social circumstance, and I could control the narrative forever from there. And so I started doing that really well in any circumstance. And I started grabbing everyone's name. Even when you'd be in a situation and you'd be like, wow, why did you grab that person's name?
Yeah.
But I would do it, and I would control the social narrative. And I say this because this is really, really important when you're talking to a woman. If you remember her name and you call her by name, she starts to feel familial with you. She starts to feel special. Who calls someone by name? Their friends, their family, someone they know and love, right? Or at least that they know. And so when you start to remember the name, they feel special. And you start to ask them questions about themselves and get them talking, they feel special. But what I would always do is I would always start with making a comment about something a woman chose. Not saying, wow, you have beautiful boobs, or you're so pretty. I would never say anything like that. I never make a comment on a God-given characteristic that a woman has been given, or some sort of surgery that she's had.
Yeah.
Never. I'm going to comment on an outfit that she chose, on a perfume that she decided to wear, on a choice that she made. Because now when I say, wow, those shoes match that dress really nice, I'm commenting on the decision that she made, the effort that she put forth to make that match. Or the smell that she decided to wear was an election that she chose, and now I'm making a comment on her election. And it makes them melt very, very quickly. All right, so that would be my first and foremost advice for anyone is make a comment on something they chose, make it nice, don't be creepy, and then immediately, don't be creepy, right? Say it in a nice way. And then get their name and be nice and have a normal conversation.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The other thing I always tell people is be okay with the pause. A lot of times men will start, anybody will start talking to a woman, and they'll get into a situation where they're like, I have to think about what I'm going to say next. What am I going to do next? Where am I going to go with this? My thought process is, if I have to pause and wait till the next thought comes to me to continue on with this conversation, I will pause. And it took a lot of practice to feel really comfortable with the pause or things being awkward. But that helps because you command confidence and people become very intrigued by why you're pausing and not trying to fill the statement with filler words.
Yeah.
So to the next level, we talked about, what's important in a woman, right? That was the next thing that we talked about was how do you define. So look, this is very interesting because for my entire life, what was important to me was physical features solely.
Yeah.
I just wanted light eyes, a big butt, and some nice skin.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I thought about. That was important. And what I started to realize was the physical features only last for about 15 minutes. Right? And I could be at dinner with a woman for 15 minutes, and after about that time, I'm already over her physical presence, her physical beauty.
Yeah.
If I don't have any similar interests, if she doesn't have any of her own interests, if she doesn't communicate well, if she doesn't have good values, if she doesn't have good morals, if she's not, for me, if she's not into health, if she's not into, growing her mind and being open or being a provider, it's not for me.
Yeah.
And so I went from physical attributes only to starting to identify what can a woman bring to the situation. And what do I like in a woman? And like I said, it's been this interesting journey of identifying what it is I like. I also thought that I needed a woman that was an entrepreneur, someone on the same level and the same hustle as me that I could go home and talk business with and air out my day, that would understand every little detail of my day and the idiosyncrasies of what I dealt with at work. I thought, I need someone on the same level as me. And what I realized is I'm actually not that attracted to that. I'm actually more attracted to somebody who's a little bit more caring and nurturing. They don't have to be an entrepreneur. They don't have to be on the same intellectual level as me or understand business to the degree that I do. They just need to be loving and caring, have some of their own interests, and be willing to support me in a way that allows me to make as much money as humanly possible and drive my career forward so that I can support them.
Right.
I don't need a girl to be rich. In fact, I don't want the girl to be rich, because usually from my experience, they're overprivileged and they take everything for granted. Nothing's even fun to them. I'm not looking for that. And I'm not looking for a girl who's making a ton of her own money. I'd just rather the girl have some of her own passion, be willing to support, the family, raise good kids, be concerned about health, like exercising, and be beautiful and have nice skin and light eyes and a big butt.
You got the baseline, right? You got to figure out. You just build on top of it.
That's right.
You just it's like a click funnel. You're just funneling down exactly what you want.
That's right. Exactly.
So, I think what I find similar in a lot of like hyper successful men, like you don't make regular people's salary. You make a lot more, and the hyper successful men, they're like really high in their masculine side, and they need a feminine companionship.
Totally.
I think that's like what they're searching for, if that makes sense. Because if you have like a very hyper masculine guy and then you have a masculine woman, sometimes a lot of things don't work because they'll be butting head a lot. If
Totally.
That makes sense.
I agree.
I see that in your transition. That's like hella cool.
Hell yeah.
And then you get your click funnel over there.
Just painting pictures.
That's crazy. We got a little glimpse of your life, your stories, your dating preferences. Yeah, you guys can't see it, but Louis in the back there doing the Zune look. I don't know if you see my profile picture.
I love it.
With the nunchucks.
You look like you're ready to strike.
So some of my I posted some of our pictures on Pixels of myself doing dumb stuff, and one of the pictures actually got 44,000 views.
I love that.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, man. You have great creativity.
They're not not traditional good photography picture, but like funny in a good way. I guess that's the type of person I am.
For sure.
And we do things really interesting. You're like, how are these guys making it? And like, they're like questions like that.
Makes sense to me.
Like when we're at the Mastermind 9 with Wes Watson, like Louis didn't even have a laptop. So the night before, when he went and bought a laptop, I flew in with Garrett, and like we freaking shot that day, and we coined out all the reels right after the Mastermind. Faster than everybody else, was the best compared to everybody else. But like for Louis, he doesn't even have a laptop, and he outperformed all the other editor. Fastest, best,
Amazing.
And at the Driven event, like literally, the speaker go on and speak, came off stage, he airdropped them a reel right away, and they're all good.
So crazy.
And
RD's was nuts.
Yeah, it's like, how do you say it? The people that doesn't have the tool sometimes are better than the people who have all the tools.
Yep.
So we established not all about the gears, and yeah, we've been working together ever since.
I love that.
And we're building out the team too. And
well deserved.
It's wild. And to get to see you here too, like this apartment was amazing. Like maybe you guys can check the vlogs we create later on the collab, but like this apartment is beautiful and it has the best view of Miami. Out here, like literally, you can see the whole Miami, all the yachts, and you get to see the cruise ship here. Like this is probably the best workout place.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to see Palm Island, Star Island, Hibiscus, the Venetian, Sunset. You can see you got the whole skyline of downtown, the cruise terminal.
Yeah, and there's no mosquito here.
No mosquitoes.
It's so high
calm,
up.
it's serene, it's quiet.
Yeah.
There's just an amazing feeling of comfort and serenity up here.
Like, you can't have a bad day being up here.
No, you really can't.
Yeah.
And we were saying this before, like if I ever have like a stressful day and I come back home and the sun is setting, it's just beaming right in my eyes, and I come and I sit out here and just overlook the whole city, it's like, it's all right.
It's crazy.
It's all good, man. I got to be grateful for this shit.
Yeah.
What does your family think about for like your success?
This has been such a crazy journey. I went from the family fuck up, right? They were all ashamed of me.
Uh-huh.
I lost my relationship with them. I ruined every family vacation for being a dick.
Wow.
And they were all done with me. And it took a while to build my trust back with them. I didn't talk to my dad for a year. My mom was a little wary of me. My sister was still kind of pissed. And today, I'm the diplomat of the family. I'm the leader. Like, I mitigate fights. I helped my parents work through, many of the issues and challenges they were going through. I am their consultant for their business. I help them manage employees. I teach them how to put structures into place. I've taught them about meditation and growth. I've completely changed my mother's mindset, and I would say probably much of my dad's as well. And I'm starting to really, I think, rub off on my sister as well. But look, today they look to me. They come down here for Thanksgiving. Like, I host Thanksgiving, and they can't wait to come and be with me. So for me, that was the most unbelievable thing, to go from just the black sheep to the leader of the family.
Wow. What advice would you give, like, for someone that's starting out today, like at 18, fresh canvas? I call them like a fresh white piece of paper, no crumbles yet. What are some things you can drop to get them, like, let's say they want to be an entrepreneur, or someone that just want to take fate into their own hand instead of, relying on the traditional, like, college system?
We have all of these kind of people at our mastermind. At my last mastermind, we had a 17-year-old, we had two 17-year-olds, an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 21-year-old. Mm-hmm. And unanimously, I saw this common thread between them. They would post stories of the mastermind, and they would say, college, ? Never. And these kids, one of them was making $100K a month drop shipping. Another kid was making $50K a month selling shoes. They're all crushing it.
Yeah.
And every single one of them did the same thing. They didn't go to college. They paid for a grant event.
Uh-huh.
They went to an Andy Elliott event. They paid for our mastermind. And they just spent money on getting around next level people who had success in the areas that they wanted to learn about. And not all of them started off with enough money to do this.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the position I was at. I was $100K in credit card debt. I spent $30,000 on a 0% interest card on my own personal development.
Wow.
So my advice is this: you have to invest in yourself. You have to find a way to save and scrounge some money and pay to get around somebody that you admire. If it's sales or business structure, it could be Grant, it could be Gary Vaynerchuk, whoever it is. Get yourself to these events and around these people. Start looking at your life and start dropping the shitty people out, and find other people who are on the path to success and do everything in your power to get around them. Whether that be an event, a mentor, or somebody else in your neighborhood who's just on a different path. Just get around the right people.
Are you, do you have haters yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Big time.
How do you with that?
Dude, I had haters day one. This shit's so funny. Me and Jados did a workout together early on. And I get a lot of his followers from Spain and Spanish-speaking people, and they start making these comments on my wall in Spanish. They don't know that I speak Spanish.
Oh shit!
And so they start commenting like things like, I'll say it in English, but
yeah,
maybe you should start working out those chicken legs or those skinny little legs, right? And I'll respond back with something funny like my mom told me the same thing, or just like funny shit. Like, look, I was fortunate enough to be close to Grant and Brandon and watch how they handled the haters.
Yeah.
For the most part, they wouldn't even engage in any of that, and they would just say like, hey, look, this is what's needed, this is what you want. The more haters you have, the better, right? It's the comment, if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
But sometimes I would watch Grant respond to these haters in a way that was just fun and light and just kind of put them to bed and put them to shame. And so, I just embody both of those. When I get the hate, I joke around with people and I have fun with it. And then there's others that I just completely ignore altogether.
Wow.
But there's no way to level up without the haters. If I don't have any haters, I'm not being polarizing. I'm not really talking about my position, my opinions. I'm not being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm not doing those things, I'm not growing and I'm not helping other people. So the only way to do that is to have haters. So it's part of the game.
Do you have any funny stories of haters besides the chicken leg?
Oh man. I get a lot of people hating and saying it's not all about the money.
Uh-huh.
Be humble. Remember where you came from. And it's people that have known me from the past.
Yeah.
And
that's harder.
They're just misconstruing my message.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spend the time to re-explain to each of them what I've come to understand. And I've been through this before with a lot of people, but they see some of the material items that I have or that I talk about or how I think about, my time and how much it's worth and how much I make. And I'm using that as fuel and motivation to motivate other people to show them what's possible. Because I liked when Wes had on the Richie and he had 5 Rolls Royces. Like, that shit motivated me. It doesn't mean that I think that Wes is validated by that shit, because if you watch enough of his content, you see he's validated by the actions that he takes and the character he has inside.
Yeah. And
that's what I know for myself to be true as well. So if someone can't glean that from my content and they take things, out of context, it's all right. It's just going to continue to happen. So I have my 1, 3, 5 year goals all planned out, and I do these personally, professionally, financially. And so personally, I want to do many things for myself, become healthier and smarter and wiser and so forth. With the money that I make, I want to be able to spend, tithe more money to the church that I belong to, which is VU Church. I want to be able to make a bigger impact there. I plan on starting a nonprofit organization to help those less fortunate, some in juvenile detention. And I also believe it very important to save some money to start an operating company. And in that company, I want to make sure that I hire and develop employees and people in a way where they can personally develop and change the lives of their families and other people. And so it's yes, it's a company, but it's also a way to personally develop people and show them what's possible. And then lastly, I've always had this dream, and I don't know how it's going to come true yet, but I would like to spend some time in other countries making an impact. Or maybe that means bringing people from areas that can't usually come to America and figuring out a way to get them to America. Because when I was 16, the boss of the landscaping company I work at brought 5 Mexican immigrants to work with me. And when I was 16, he left them with me and said, "You're the boss now."
Yeah.
And they taught me Spanish. In 3 months, I became fluent in Spanish. But that was because they were here and I was teaching them a better life. I brought them to the bank, to the supermarket, everything.
Yeah.
And I said, in exchange for me helping you guys, you need to teach me Spanish. And so I always want to give back. Like they shaped and changed my life. And I just have a lot of love for any immigrant that comes from another country. I just have a lot of love and respect. And so I just want to be able to continue to give back to them as well. I don't know what that looks like yet, but
yeah, that's sick. Like you surround yourself with a Spanish speaker, embedded in them, boom, just like how you are with business, Brandon, all this amazing in entrepreneurs. You just embed, boom, right away. It doesn't take. Some people will take 3 years to learn Spanish and they suck. That's me.
I never realized that before. That's been the number one key to my success.
Yeah.
I just embed myself into the circles or within the people that have what I want. And I don't just mean material shit. I mean, like, they have the skills, the knowledge, the vision that I want.
Damn.
How do you maintain like your relationship and your success in your business? How do you maintain like having time for your girl and not having her take up too much time?
Well, I would say it's probably the out of any area of my life, the one thing that I've not done a good job of balance with is a relationship with a female. I don't seem to need a ton of companionship. I don't need a daily check-in, and I spend so much time on personal development, growth, work, helping other people, that I probably don't spend as much time with a woman as I should and develop the relationship in that way. You know, I'm still definitely a little bit selfish in that sense. What I have done, which has worked well, is calendar time for date night, right? Is pick a day of the weekend that I can spend time with a girl and make sure that I just stick to that. And that for me has been really useful. The other thing too is oftentimes my girlfriend will find out about my work, my day, my issues, everything going on in my life when I'm with her, with my friends, and I'm telling my friends what's going on. And they would constantly get annoyed by that, of like, why do you tell your friends everything but you don't tell me everything? And so I started getting better at communicating. I started calendaring times to be with them, and that was really, you know, the best way to be able to balance. Aside from that, I don't really need too much balance because my life from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed is amazing, and I'm driving forward my purpose, and my work is all intertwined and interwoven with having fun and being with my friends, because all of my friends are like-minded people that are on the same journey, that are growing. And so it's kind of just all interwoven. If there's anywhere that I would live in the United States, it would be Miami. I don't want to leave here in terms of living. Now, I'll say this. I want to have a second home somewhere, probably in like Montana or Wyoming, like a big ranch with a lot of land where we can have, you know, dirt bikes and ATVs and a lot of property, and it's like a retreat kind of place.
Ooh.
That's, you know, like the second home I would like to have. And then honestly, I think a dream of mine would be to buy a house on the lake in Vermont where I grew up, so that I could still go back there in the summertime for a couple weeks, you know, out of the year. But in terms of home, God, I love Miami so much. I rarely want to leave here.
How do you keep it all together without like losing your shit? Because I know on Wes's program, you wake up really early, you show people that you wake up early, you put a motivational quote every day out, and you live that quote. How do you do it without burning out?
I've shifted my bedtime to earlier, so I'm able to get an adequate amount of sleep. But it's a very sustainable life. You know, once you shift your schedule, and, you know, like I wake up at 5, I go to bed typically I'm usually in bed around 9:30, go to bed at 10 for the most part. The goal of the morning routine is to limit the amount of decisions that need to be made during that time. So if every single morning I wake up at the same time every day, I then pray, I then piss, I then hydrate, I then read my book, I then do my breath work, I then meditate, go for a walk, get dressed, drink my creatine, my pre-workout, get to the gym. I've made 0 decisions in that time. None. And so now when I come back from the gym, my first decision is at about 10 o'clock, which is, do I take a bath or a shower? And this sounds ridiculous, but if that's my first decision, and then for the rest of the day I make decisions from there, I limit my decision fatigue. And so this is a way to maintain energy and mental clarity all day long when you have a bulletproof routine. Not to mention, you start to build confidence when you have this crazy morning routine. So your confidence starts to build, and instead of letting distractions come in, because look, here's what happens. You wake up, you look at your phone, you start getting flooded with shit. sensory bullshit, fucked up news, big booty hoes, links to OnlyFans, right? It's like, oh no, and then your mind goes in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in this toxic place and you've given into your mind towards this dopamine hit rather than the routine that you're supposed to be doing. But if you can limit the distraction and just maintain the routine, you start to fortify your mind. You start to build confidence. You start to reduce distraction, and you get better focus, energy, and mental clarity. Now you've won the morning. You've made no decisions. You have a shitload of confidence. Your energy's up. Your mental clarity is great, and you're gonna fucking crush the day. And then from there on out, you do as the day goes along. For me, I calendar everything. So when I make a to-do list, I'll write down all the shit on my to-do list, and then I'll rank it in order of importance. What's order of importance? Revenue generating activity. If it is a revenue generating activity, it goes to the top, and then I take it off the list and I calendar it. And then once everything in that list is calendared or discarded, if I really don't need to do it, I throw that shit away. And lastly, I buy back my time. I do not do anything that I can pay someone else to do at a lesserly hour rate than I am worth. So I understand my hourly rate. If I'm worth $1,500 an hour, I pay a cleaning lady to do my laundry, to do my dishes, to clean the house. I pay someone to deliver the food. I have a chef that makes my meal plan. I pay someone to assemble the furniture, right? If I'm stressed out and I got a lot to do, I pay for a premium SUV Uber and I take the $100 ride and I work from my phone rather than get in the car and worry about a parking spot or traffic. So I just limit my stress by paying for it a lot of the time.
Damn.
You got the world's attention for like 1 minute. What would you say?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. So let me repeat it if the mic doesn't pick it up. But if you have the world's attention for 1 minute, what would you say? And this question's from Louis right here.
I would say,
oh, that's a good
think
question.
about how you can affect other people rather than going through your life selfishly seeking to find comfort and happiness yourself. Look back and think, how can I make a positive impact on this world and help other people? And start to view your life through that lens rather than the lens of extreme self-centeredness.
Damn. I think it's like the best podcast I've been on.
It's only like 2 hours.
I know.
We're on fire.
Like, Wade has a lot of depth, like good vibe, depth.
Appreciate you.
So it's like kind of easy.
Sauce?
You get the sauce. You get the sauce. So before we close out, anything else you want to leave the audience with? A banger, some more spice.
Open your mind. Zoom out for 5 minutes. Instead of being stuck in your relationship, your job, your outlook, your current income level, zoom out and take a look at your life and say, where can I improve? What can I remove that's not serving me? And what can I add in that will serve me? And when I say serve me, I mean to help create a better life for those around me and ultimately to help me create a better life for everyone that I come in contact with. So zoom out and take a look. That's the key.
Damn. I picked up a lot of knowledge in this one. Man.
Hell yeah.
That's freaking crazy. Appreciate you, brother, for the podcast. Louis, thank you all for the freaking fire questions.
A1 sauce.